Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Dr. Robin McCutcheon joins us again, ladies and gentlemen. We discuss a great many things here. She brings up a lot of free speech tyranny that is taking place at Marshall University, certainly from a contractual standpoint, more even specifically regarding the business of tenure and what professors can and cannot say and how they are evaluated, even though, of course, that tenured professors, while they may be evaluated, they can't lose their jobs. And again, not every professor on a university campus is a left-wing nut job. A lot of them are, in fact, freedom fighters and individuals who love free speech, much like her, of course. So we discuss that and how this is an ongoing problem and something that I think is really going to sort of rear its ugly head here throughout the course of 2025 and perhaps into the future, and how this isn't even a Marshall University problem. This could very well be a university-wide problem across the entire nation. So time will tell on this, but again, we're going to keep our ears to the ground on that one. We talk about the business of U.S. sovereignty also, the potential acquisition of Canada, Greenland, Australia, New Zealand, things of that nature, economic news as well, and of course things that we want to see happen here in the near future. There's plenty to be optimistic about, but again, we should be cautious as well. I don't think there's any doubting that. And again, there's sort of a limbo here where we have to wait and see what's really going to take place. So with all of that said, again, thank you for listening as always. Give our discussion a listen here if you're interested, and I will catch you on Friday.
Well, where would you like to start?
Well, I'll tell you what. In your email to me, you mentioned that Marshall was making some interesting moves. I figured we'd start there.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently, the Marshall Faculty Senate they approved a new policy. They're calling it academic freedom, but you might want to put those two words in quotes, academic freedom, in which, in this particular policy, and I'm going to be paraphrasing, they basically claim to be able to determine what is misinformation and disinformation that any professor is speaking in their class.
Really?
Yes. And so with this policy, the Marshall University has apparently left the umbrella of the Higher Education Policy Commission, Title 133, Series 9 academic freedom policy, which had been governing us at least since I've been here, probably many, many decades. But also in this new policy that the Faculty Senate approved, they also have a section that they call academic freedom, in which they copy and pasted right from Section 2, Title 133, Series 9, which is truly academic freedom. Basically, that professors have the right to use whatever materials they want, speak on whatever issues they want, do whatever research they want, etc. And that's true academic freedom. But so inside of this policy, they have both true academic freedom and fake academic freedom, academic non-freedom, academic slavery maybe. And I'm waiting for the incident where a professor is challenged in class by another professor that is not the instructor of record to support whatever subjects they're covering, to substantiate that what they're saying is true or misinformation or disinformation or bias or whatever. I'm just sort of sitting back waiting for that. I'm half afraid and almost excited that it might be
me. Yeah. Well, you're up for the job.
I know. And then with the same task force, university task force, they have been writing a new policy that they're not calling post-tenure review, but that is post-tenure review. The people that I know that are on this task force, some of them who are mature senior professors, have been trying to tell the assistant professor that's writing this policy, this is a post-tenure review, and he keeps saying, no, it isn't. Well, yes, it is. If you're taking a full professor to their chair and their dean and reviewing the essential steps that got them to their full professor status, that is a post-tenure review. And I had a friend who is now passed on, who is very, very knowledgeable about the policies at Marshall. In fact, he wrote quite a few of them. And he kept telling me, tenure is a property right. And it took me several years to figure it out, but it finally hit me. Tenure is a vested right, which makes it a property right. And vesting is a status bestowed upon a person by an authority. In this case, it would be the state, because we're a state-funded university. That once bestowed cannot be removed. Therefore, it's a property right. And so, while this new policy, this post-tenure review policy, hasn't gone past, it hasn't been submitted for review by the faculty senate or the faculty themselves. I'm just waiting, and in the meantime, I'm educating my younger faculty about what their rights really are with respect to true academic freedom and their newly gained status of tenured professor. Because what they intend to do is they intend to start reviewing all full professors beyond their full professor status. So the longer you've been a full professor, the sooner you will be reviewed. So some of these people have been a full professor for 20, 30 years. They'll be reviewed first. And the intention behind this policy is to make these full professors quit or retire because they're expensive to pay.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how this river is going to flow just yet. I'm sort of floating down in my boat, waiting to see what happens. The professors that I've talked with who are on this task force know that tenure is a property right, that it can't be revoked, and that it's not to be reviewed. And the purpose of this new policy is, first of all, to make it easier to get rid of tenured professors, which then why do we have tenure? And then the direction that this is going is to eliminate from the university system the position, the status of tenure, so that every single year you have to reapply for the position that you have. And you're no longer protected by a tenured status, which means that if you have a clique of professors in your college that don't like you, they'll be able to get rid of you. You are no longer protected by not being able to be fired because you're tenured, because there won't be tenure.
So this is way more than just money, of course. I mean, there's clearly a very nefarious motive behind this. Like you said, getting rid of people that are unwanted or dissenting voices, perhaps.
Yes. And the reason that we have tenure is because way back in 1915, when professors in the Ivy Leagues wanted to keep their positions, and who were being gotten rid of by their board of governors because they were either speaking out against their board of governors or they were pulling the socialist communist line. they force their universities to adopt a policy of tenure in order for them to be able to have a secure place. And I can see the reasoning behind it, right? But it can be used in nefarious ways. Now, these leftist professors 110 years ago were very few in number across the university system, but they used those positions of tenured professor in order to gather to themselves more professors like them, which is how we end up with a university system where 98% of the professors are leftists.
Right.
But I don't see that getting rid of tenure will get rid of these leftist professors because they're already way past majority. So they'll just get rid of any professor who's right-leaning or who doesn't kowtow to the status quo. They'll just get rid of them.
Now, this isn't, I mean, clearly the governing body there, as you say, the university senate, they're the ones that are ironing this out and pushing this forth. But who's behind them? Who's it?
That's the great question.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's feeding them this information in lockstep. There's no way they sat around and said, okay, we're going to change everything and here's how we're going to do it.
No, this is a task force, which means that it's not a university committee. And task forces are set up by deans or provosts or presidents in order to carry out specific duties. They have their responsibilities outlined for them by whoever set up this task force. Now, this is a university task force, which means that no dean set this up. So guess who set it up? Upper administration.
Yeah.
And that's where this is coming from. And
does this have anything to do with H-1B?
You know, this came along. This was percolating for at least 9 or 10 months. So this doesn't really, it's not really terribly related to the H-1B, what do you want to call it, hue and cry?
Yeah, bringing foreigners here who are less qualified and getting rid of those who are more qualified.
Right. Well, the sad part is depending on which college you're with, and depending on who's running which department, it is quite conceivable that Americans who were well qualified for positions as assistant or associate or full professors were overlooked for other people who are not Americans. Did that sound like I put it very delicately?
I got it. Yeah.
Because I really tried.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And all you have to do is go and take a look at. All you have to do is go and take a look at the College of Business at Marshall, and Marshall is very proud of the College of Business for being so very diverse. And you can see that. I mean, you can see the results of the DEI influence.
Sure.
That's how I want to put it.
Yep.
I'm absolutely certain, based on my experiences on search committees, that Americans with PhDs who were absolutely qualified for positions either in our department or in our college were overlooked.
Yep. They're being incentivized. Yeah. Yep. 100%. They're totally being incentivized to make sure and hire individuals who aren't white.
Oh yeah. We've got lots of different skin colors, but I'm not sure we have lots of different ideologies.
There you have it.
Yeah. So there's some interesting times coming, and like I said, I'm pointing my young professors who have now achieved the status of associate professor, which means they're tenured. I'm now pointing them in the direction of combing through these policies that have been passed by the faculty senate and signed by the president, to realize what direction these policies are taking the university and how they could potentially impact them. Now, of course, they're young. They think they're immortal.
Right.
They're pretty sure they're going to be doing A+ research work for decades to come. But they haven't quite gotten all the way around the block, and there still is some washing and wringing to do with this laundry.
Is there a timeline on any of that?
Well, the policy that claims to be academic freedom has already been installed as of last August, I think. I don't have an exact date, but it was last fall sometime. And this new policy that this task force is working on, what people have told me is it's going to be pushed through before we get to fall 25. And so they want to, the upper administration wants to start these post-tenure reviews starting in fall.
So this is going to be a semester by semester evaluation then?
Probably. Or they could include it with an annual report.
What are the parameters? Let me ask you that too, because I used to be familiar with what Miami University's parameters were, certainly in their teacher education department regarding evaluation of their professors. And my dad even created one of the evaluation systems that was used for decades, if memory serves. But what are basically the rubric for your evaluation?
You know, that's a great question.
I mean,
I wish I could answer that.
That's okay. I mean, it has to be.
No,
public.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It should be publicly disclosed, except that the things that I have read don't seem to have very many parameters. It's very subjective. There's no quantifying anything. Like, for instance, they could say for a post-tenure review for a full professor, well, in 5 years you have to have 5 peer-reviewed articles in high-quality journal. But who defines high quality?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Who gets to define that?
Yep.
That, 5 articles, I could write 5 white papers.
Right.
But it's the definition of high-quality journals that nobody wants to put a quantifier on this. Right? They want to be able to, and this is how a lot of policy is written, it's very subjective. Now, the Title 133 Series 9 policy of academic freedom is quite clear. Professor can say anything, use any materials, conduct their course in any manner they wish to do. And that's quite clear. There's no way for any professor who isn't me as an instructor of record for my courses that can step into my classroom and say, hey, you're spewing lies, or you're spewing propaganda, or you're brainwashing your students. There's nobody that can step into my classroom and tell me what to do or what materials to use or how to speak. No one. Right. And that's the exact thing that they want to get rid of. They don't want professors to be able to speak freely at all.
Well, they'll weaponize the students too.
Sure.
Yeah. They'll throw the students right against the professor, and then they'll give the students an avenue or a particular committee or an office building to go to complain if they don't already have something like that against a professor.
They do.
Oh, there you go. See? And then it'll just be based on what a student thinks.
Yeah, it's it's a lot like what we've seen happen to President Trump the last 4 years. Baseless claims.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter that the claim is unsubstantiated, it's that the claim has been made. So these things are filtering through not just our university, but from other professors I've talked with in my college who have connections to other universities, this is filtering through the university system nationwide. I mean, there was a professor in North Carolina, and I don't have the exact case in front of me, but he was fired because he was speaking freely, and he could not use, according to what I've been told, he was not able to use the First Amendment to defend himself. Now, Marshall is a state-funded university, which means we have to follow the state constitution, and the state constitution has to follow the U.S. Constitution. So this new policy that they put in place last fall violates the First Amendment completely. So, like I said, I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm not haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for someone to come after me.
Yeah. Is this also being done, do you think, because you've mentioned in the past that Marshall University, specifically the business school, of course, is moving more toward online instruction, and that the more likely someone is to use online instruction, the more likely they are to come across other wavelengths of thought and perhaps even more truth and accuracy than, say, in any other environment, and they're doing this to basically, I don't know, not cover their bases, but I don't know, get ahead of a potential fight?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. Could be. It's even possible, because I've made no secret about that I've sued the university to support my own academic freedom under Title 133. I've made no secret about that. I'm not saying I'm any special snowflake, but it could be that I'm not the only one that has sued the university to for them to support our academic freedom, and maybe they're just tired of doing that.
Yeah, that's a sad precedent to set. And if that's again, if this is happening nationwide, that's even worse. I know that at Miami University, I believe their professors are now unionized.
Yeah, we're not allowed to because we're a state-funded university. Because I suggested that to several professors, and I was told, well, you go look at the state constitution, but because we're a state-funded university, we're not allowed to unionize.
Interesting. So does that?
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. So does that mean that West Virginia public schools, that their school teachers aren't unionized?
That I don't know. I don't know what happens in the K-12 area.
Interesting.
But interesting that you bring that up, because it would not surprise me to find out that the K-12 teachers are not unionized, because they also are state-funded employees.
Right.
Not that other school systems aren't state-funded, but it might be because of the way West Virginia's Constitution was written. Because remember, it was written, 160 some years ago? 161 years ago? And I'm pretty sure West Virginians back then weren't real enamored with unions, except maybe the coal union.
Right.
So anyway, those were some of my delicious new, oh my God, look what's coming down the pike policy changes.
Yeah. Does that have does it have a name? Is there a title to this particular motion that's being made here?
I would have to dig it up, but it's because it's really in draft form. I don't think they've given it an official title that's sunk in cement yet. We're supposed to be having some meetings coming up here this month, faculty meetings across the university, to discuss this.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. I want you to keep me
Yeah.
I want you to keep me in the loop on this one. Again, this has serious ramifications, of course. In particular, if it, again, like you say, is being snuck through multiple universities across the nation. This is a problem,
isn't it? Yeah, yeah. So my curiosity extends to my tenured colleagues, my full professor colleagues, because I wonder how many of them will actually realize what's going on here.
right?
I mean, how many of them have fallen for the bullshit that, oh, no, this is not a real post tenure review. We just want to make sure that you're not sitting in your office eating bonbons all day.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. You would think that they would open
like we
themselves.
would have time to do that.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. You would think that they would be doing what appears to be, anyway, that numerous businesses are backing off of all of their Marxist degenerate nonsense. I mean, I saw it just today. Even McDonald's is doing away with their DEI stuff and all of this, nonsense training that, of course, hits the news waves and never
right.
and is never good news. I mean, it's never a good light. It's like
right.
They're just inviting problems.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked last time about the DEI train. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't DEI training. It was what did they call that training? That it was the new quote unquote the new Title IX training that West Virginia glommed on with the federal court injunction against it. Yeah, and it was a voluntary training. It wasn't true sexual harassment training, but it was some DEI bullcrap training.
Right.
And yeah. And it had nothing to do with actually protecting students or professors, but it was geared toward how all action should be taken to protect the university. From what I was told, because I didn't do that training because it was voluntary, and in my eyes, if it's voluntary, I don't need to do it, especially if it's going to cram down my throat diversity, equity, and inclusion crap.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that the entire thing caved in, that even the people who were just listening over the computer were remarkably insulted.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And in fact, they lost that recording.
Right.
Somehow it just disappeared.
Yep.
The whole thing shut down, and when everybody came back online, the entire recording of that session was gone. Almost like someone didn't want it to be there.
Yeah, certainly not the public finding out.
That's right.
Amazing.
And an interesting aside note on that, anybody who didn't take that voluntary training still had to go through the regular 2020 training that was all about sexual harassment. And oddly enough, someone forgot to send me the link for that.
And there you go.
Because I contacted the Title IX director's office, and I said, hey, I think I'm supposed to get a link. It hasn't showed up yet. And her email back to me was, I'm so sorry. I don't know how you didn't get that link in the mass email. And if I hadn't taken that training by a certain date, I could have been fired. So
amazing.
Weird how things work out, huh?
Indeed. I suppose this might mean that, at least again back on the evaluation system or the impending new evaluation system, that they would have to change everyone's contracts then.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing my contract when it comes around in August to see specifically how it's worded. Because it's a contract, I think that I can disagree with the contract stipulations, and I might even rewrite them.
Sure, certainly.
Take it to a notary and have it notarized, and then sign it and turn it in.
There you go.
And it's a contract. It's not valid unless both parties sign it. So I think there might be some. I can rescission whatever I don't like.
I say give it a go.
I think I'll give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah. You don't have to sign off on something that's illegal.
I don't have to sign off on something that abrogates my rights either.
There you go. Yep.
So, it would be stupid for me to do that. I'm not going to. Not going to give away my rights. There's a certain physical anatomy part that they can kiss.
Excellent.
Frequently on their knees.
I have a feeling they're going to be doing that in due time.
Well, and it didn't really surprise me that I didn't get this link to the proper training, because I was the one speaking out in my college, letting all of the professors know that the 2024 training that the state of West Virginia had said, no, we're not doing that. We're not sanctioning that. I was the one speaking out to my college, telling everybody, this is voluntary. You don't have to take this. And when we got to the last week where this training was going to take place, we got frequent emails saying, hey, there's this training coming up. You got to sign up for it. And every time I saw one of these emails, I sent around another one to the college saying, this is voluntary. You don't have to take this. So, targeted, maybe?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I don't, other than not receiving the link from the Title IX department, I don't have any other proof.
Not to mention withholding information from you because you're telling your colleagues the truth about what's going on.
Right.
Seems highly unethical.
Oh, please, Sean.
I know.
When has being unethical ever stopped administration? Calm down.
I know.
Pull the other leg. It's not as long as the first one.
It's amazing. I say it on my show all the time. They make work. They're making work for themselves. They're creating problems for themselves. They do not.
Oh, yeah.
They do not look at their own hand. I mean, they don't look past the hand in front of their face. They can't see the consequences of anything that they're doing.
Oh, come on. They don't care about the consequences. All they care about is the end result.
Right, but they don't even care about it. They don't even care about embarrassment. They don't care about legal peril. They don't even care about how the public views them. They're sociopaths.
No, of course. They're a little bit like our government. They're sociopaths and psychopaths.
Yeah.
All they want is power and control. Listen, just give up your freedom for a little bit more security. We'll keep you safe.
Yep.
Where have I heard that nonsense before?
Government's your friend. Just take it easy.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're here for you. Just give us more of your money. In fact, forget it. We'll keep all your money and we'll give you back the money we think you ought to have.
Even better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of tyranny, let me ask you this then, regarding the jab status of fellow colleagues and everything else. What's the messaging like there in this new year, second semester?
We have heard nothing. I've seen no email talking about bird flu or monkeypox or mask mandates or anything. But we're not quite yet back to school, and I'm not sure how much all of that hysteria has wiggled its way to the university upper administration. I have a feeling. My feeling is that if they try to mask us up and jab us up again, that there's going to be a wholesale revolt. And guess who's going to be leading the charge? Because I won't hold back this time.
Good. Well, you didn't hold back the last time, really, but
no, but I was still fairly laid back. I kept my email to the president and the chief counsel, both of whom have now changed. So we've got a new president and a new chief counsel. Neither one of which will stop me from going on the warpath if this comes down the pike.
Good.
And I will make sure that all of my colleagues at the College of Business and all of my students know that a mandate is not a law. There are no laws for masking, and this violates the Nuremberg Code. You're going to take an experimental jab. They can't force you. You want to go take it on your own? That's up to you. And I have saved everything, all of the research that I did back in 2020 and 21 and 22 about how masks harm a person, how these COVID jabs or whatever jab they want to come up with, how they're no one is allowed to force you to do this. So I will be extremely vocal. And let's see if they go after me first for post-tenure review.
Yeah, those would be some easy dots to connect right there on a timeline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Well, yeah, you're right. Once the school year kicks back into gear.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yep.
And really, I'm not sure it's going to actually happen. Because if all of this bird flu, H5N1, we've got a new vaccine, hospitals are masking up. If all this is hysteria meant to pour more fear porn on the people in order for the incoming Trump administration to have a more difficult time, I don't think that mainstream media has the reach that it did last time, and I don't think people are going to fall for this bullcrap again.
Yep.
And I will absolutely make sure that my colleagues and my students know that it is bullshit.
Excellent.
Yep, they want a full-scale revolt, I'll do a verbal one.
Perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this too, geopolitically now. This is a little off of Marshall University, but there's been this reoccurring discussion that's been taking place here, and I've seen a number of different posts about it. Again, there's no transition here, unless, of course, there was more that you wanted to bring up regarding Marshall and what's going on there.
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
This had to do with the business of Donald Trump verbalizing his interest in acquiring Canada, Greenland, and even making some comments regarding Australia.
Oh, not New Zealand too?
I believe they were included also. There's a couple of different takes on it, and I was interested into what your take was on it, and basically which side of the fence you were on this particular issue. There's basically the entire take, of course, that, and this is an old theory that goes back many years, even dating back to the Q posts, but it had to do with the Crown, of course, always owning the United States, and that the end of the Revolutionary War, of course, was just a deal that was arranged to where the Crown still owned the land of the United States, but it wouldn't look like they did, kind of thing. And then Donald Trump came into office, and then before he went over to England, I believe for the first time, there were basically some deals that were made that essentially removed the Crown's influence or ownership of the United States. And then, of course, you had all of the imagery of Donald Trump walking in front of the Queen and, not walking behind her or side by side, but walking in front of her like he owned the place. And then there was, again, this is all just in my memory banks here of just the imagery alone being very interesting and very suspicious, but that Donald Trump refused to go to the UK until Theresa May resigned, something along those lines. And then, again, some agreement was made, and then, of course, she ended up resigning and was sobbing at the lectern in front of her home and whatever else, and she's been nowhere to be found ever since. So, given the fact that certainly Canada is owned by the Crown, as is Australia, it begs the question, is the Crown dead? Has it been completely removed, zero influence, and does the United States now essentially behave and act as a sovereign country for the first time ever? And then what influence does that have on the acquisition of Greenland, Canada, and Australia, if not New Zealand as well. Not to mention the Greenland aspect of all of its resources, but also that it's a massive child and human trafficking hub, from what I understand. So there's all of that on one side of the fence, and the other side of the fence, sort of the counter argument, is that all of this is being done to usher in a one world government. More land acquisition from the United States without the Crown's influence, but it's really just more global government, so to speak. I mean, me personally, I tend to agree with the former explanation because there were far too many clues and far too many angles with all of that. Not to mention the history digs that a lot of us, a lot of anonymous people were doing and presentations that people were giving on maritime law and, all of that stuff. So, I don't know. I guess what's your take on all of that?
Well, I've done a little bit of research into what happened at the end of the American Revolution, and if people will go look at the Treaty of Paris, I think it's 1783, and they'll look at Section 5, the Treaty of Paris, they'll find that, indeed, the Prince of England did retain ownership of the United States.
Right.
And its people. And two of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were on that mission. So I can see where that initial theory would have gotten started and way back at the beginning.
Right.
But if you go and look at the Organic Act of 1871, you'll find out that indeed the United States, the Constitution for the United States of America, the Constitution for the United States for America was changed to the Constitution of the United States of America, and the United States became a corporation.
Yep.
United States Inc., or United States Corporation. Now that corporation is bankrupt and was bankrupted close to 2020. I mean, it was the end of February 2020 where Donald Trump put the Federal Reserve back underneath the U.S. Treasury. And if people will do a little bit of research, they'll find out that when Biden got into office as the resident, that they tried to reestablish the corporation. They called it White House Inc. It didn't go anywhere. But this whole awakening process has been one gigantic civics and history lesson for the American people to watch and to go do their own research. But I've heard both sides of this theory.
Yeah.
That that Trump had disentangled us and taken us, the U.S. away from the crown. But if people will go back and look, when the Queen of England, Elizabeth II, when she retired to, I think she went to Sandringham Castle, or was it Windsor Castle? When she left Buckingham Palace, her coat of arms was removed from the gate of Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I think there's enough evidence if people will look, and it's scattered, so you have to be careful where you look. You have to be very diligent when you look. But I think there's enough evidence to corroborate theory number one.
Right.
That the United States has been released from captivity, that the crown has been destroyed. It's even possible that, Canada being the 51st state and Greenland being the 52nd state and Australia and New Zealand being 52, 53, and 54, I think it's all possible. Right? I mean, Don Jr.'s up in Greenland today.
Right.
He wasn't there yesterday. but he's there today. And I think theory number two, that this is a way of getting a one world government. I'm not sure that that's anything but more fear porn.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a wait and see situation too, right? It's
Sure.
We don't have a competent media competent enough to tell us what the truth is. But if people will go listen to Derek Johnson, they might find out that the media has been under the War Powers Act since the spring of 2020. That they've been essentially told what to say by the white hat military, because you can't wake up an entire nation by throwing cold water on them. You've got to. These last 4 years has been a slow awakening process, with more and more people leaving behind the mainstream media and going out and doing their own research. You know, the mainstream media is basically dead.
Yeah, you can tell that there are subjects that they're having to report on that they don't want to report on. Not to mention the particular truth posts that Donald Trump puts out there. I mean, they have to read them, in particular when it's a subject as, I would say, foreign as him saying, Canada becoming the 51st state would be really interesting. And I mean, no one's ever said that before. So they have no choice but to report on that.
Right.
But it's not like they would know what that actually means.
Right. I think it's a wait and see situation. I think that we can throw theories back and forth across the fence as often as we want, but it's going to be something that matures in its own way. Heck, if 51% of Canadians decide they want to be American, it's, good enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the population of Greenland is, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't want to join with the United States and get away from Denmark. I don't know. I am not convinced that the one world government is actually going to come to fruition. I think that whole cabal of World Economic Forum, the Davos clique, I think those people have been decimated. I don't even know where those people are anymore. George didn't even show up for his medal that Biden was handing out.
Right.
And Hillary looked less like herself than the 5 others I've seen since she was tossed into the van on September 11th, 2016.
You know what? I'll tell you something, and I'll fully admit it. I'm starting to warm up to that idea. I really am. I mean, I'm looking at her, and she does not look like the 2016 Hillary.
Nope, doesn't she? I mean, it's a good mask.
Sure. Well, it's I mean, we know she had a body double. I've seen pictures of her actual body double, and the two people standing next to each other. But I'm saying to myself, this Hillary is thinner than others, and I mean, I know people, they get thin in their age, and she may be on weight loss shots for all I know, and got some Botox in her face, but I don't know. It almost looked too scripted. That entire ceremony of all of those medals. I mean, George, Alex Soros and all the other nitwits who were on stage there, Bill Nye the Science Guy and the rest of them. It was beyond bizarre.
I know, and George Romney got one posthumously.
Yeah.
And his son Mitt was there to collect it. I mean, I think if you want to know some of the who's who of the elite lizard people, they were standing on stage there.
No kidding. Yeah.
But I mean, how many times have I've listened to a lot of President Trump's rallies, and I can't tell you the number of times that he's pointed at someone and said central casting. Tom Homan, he's right from Central Casting. Look at Matt Gaetz. Doesn't he look like he's from Central Casting? You go back and you look at Matt Gaetz's face from pre-2017, it looks like a totally different Matt Gaetz to me. I mean, how many of these people that we think are real, quote unquote real, really are just actors in masks?
Yeah.
I know. People are going to go, oh, McCutcheon's lost it. She's just gone off. She's gone off the deep end.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Matt Gaetz is wearing a mask. I think it's him. It's just, it's some of these.
No, the jawline is different. You can't Botox that jawline.
Well, I know he used to be
different.
Yeah, I know he used to be a little bit fatter, but certainly sort of the baby fat face kind of thing. But I don't know. I do find I find this aspect of it to be interesting, is just the public exposure. That for the awake, when you see Hillary standing up there receiving a medal as being the greatest person on the face of the planet, it really is just cringe.
Yep.
And same thing with all of them. Even Denzel Washington. I mean, he's been implicated in child rape and having children sold to him. And now he's on that stage receiving the same medal. Like
I said,
yeah.
all the top lizard people in one place.
That's right.
They're all marked now.
Yep.
I mean, when are we really going to see? Here, I'll throw another one at you. Michelle Obama, who now has receding hairlines.
I know. Yeah.
It's something that happens to men after about, I don't know, like the age of 45 or 50. But you can't comb over that hairline. She's probably got plugs by now. But, what happens when it comes out that she's really a he and still has the appropriate external plumbing? I'll put it like that.
Yeah. And it even gets mentioned. I mean, I've even heard Greg Gutfeld on Fox News bring it up, and it gets laughs, and people laugh about it, but he's being serious, and no one goes, wait a minute, what did you just say?
Well, look at what happened to Joan Rivers.
Oh, I know.
When Obama got into office, Joan Rivers was asked, do you ever think there will be a gay man or a transvestite in the White House? She rolls her eyes and she goes, he's already there. Yeah. We all know as she's walking up the steps of whatever destination she was arriving at, we all know that he's a transvestite. Talking about Michelle Obama.
Yeah, transsexual.
And then 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, she's dead from a root canal.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Don't go to that dentist.
No kidding.
So, I mean, I think, again, this is just going to sound so far out in left field, I'm in the bleachers, but I think we, the United States, we, the world, have been treated to the greatest show on earth. And I think that a lot of our so-called elected leaders have been dealt with and replaced with either body doubles or people in masks. I mean, take a look at AOC. The AOC of today doesn't look anything like the AOC of 2016 or 2018, whenever she first got into Congress. Doesn't look looks very similar. Could be a close cousin. Could be a first cousin, but not the same woman.
Really?
The entire facial bone structure is different.
Oh,
I think this is structure. You got to go back and look.
All right, I'll take a peak. I think it's the same person. I think she's equally as nuts, but she's yeah. You couldn't
replace AOC and then have her come out as a conservative. But look what happened to Fetterman. We've had, at least by my count, 4 different Fettermans. We're on version 5 or 6 now.
Well, see, here's the thing about that. That's interesting because, again, I understand the body double aspect of all of that. I mean, I get it. But I also understand, too, and I even remember reading this about AOC right when she first got in, that she's a plant.
She admitted she responded to a casting call.
Right.
Go back and look at her it's way back in the beginning. She said, I just responded to a casting call. I never thought that I'd get elected to office. Well, she wasn't. She was selected.
Right.
A casting call.
The question then becomes, of course, because based on this it was an old 4chan, a really long 4chan thread regarding AOC, and it basically had to do with that she was essentially a CIA plant, allegedly for white hats, and that the entire, again, it's an interesting story, but that the entire theory behind her, or mission behind her, was that she was being planted in the Democrat Party to take it as far left as humanly possible on purpose to make them just look as insane as they actually are. Again, all the women dressing the same during the whatever it is, the not inauguration, but the State of the Union address, and I mean all of that stuff, all her public comments, and the staged crying at the border, and I mean all of that stuff, just to again pull everybody who is already on the left further in her direction, to expose how nuts these people are and essentially speed up their plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Fetterman's the same way. I mean, he's changed his tune also. Yeah.
Well, he lost his second neck, right? He went into the hospital. He came out looking completely different. He had no tattoos on his arm. And then the next version of him had tattoos. You missed that. Okay.
No. I saw the tattoo thing. In fact, I went down that rabbit hole on the business of his tattoos after he came out of the hospital, and he still had them. I mean, I think it's him, but I think what's more plausible is the angle of them being plants and somebody basically getting to them and saying, okay, you were hard left. Now I want you to say more moderate things. And then they sort of end up pulling. Right, yeah, exactly. And then they end up just pulling people, I guess, more toward the middle and maybe more toward the right over the course of time. But yeah.
Well, I think there were several Q posts, and I can't quote the number, but there were several Q posts that said you can't tell people, you have to show them.
Yep, exactly.
And there's some wisdom in that. For people who have children, no matter how old they are, parents will know that there are oftentimes you can't tell children how life experiences will go. They have to walk through it themselves. They have to be showed. And when you have a nation of tacked out, sound asleep, brainwashed, propagandized population, you can't just one day go from communism and socialism and throw the cold water on them and say, no, now we really are a republic. Everything that you've learned in school is wrong. You can't. It's not an overnight thing. We actually needed these 4 years of the Biden presidency to give us a little bit of space for digital warriors like yourself to gently rock people awake, to gently red pill them, to have them do their own research, to start asking questions, to awaken from this long, deep slumber that we've been hypnotized into for the last 100 years or so. I mean, even President Trump talked about several times, I think in 2022, that we were in a pause. He used that word. This is a pause. And we know based on all of a lot of the EOs and federal continuity directives and things of this sort. Derek Johnson talks a lot about this. In fact, that's the only thing he talks about. That we've been under a continuity of government, if not from January 2021, then well before. And which means that, the Biden presidency wasn't really a presidency.
Right.
And it means that we have been under how do I want to say this? Not really a military occupation, but we have been under a government that has been run by people behind the scenes, probably the military. And we know that there really is a queue inside of the Department of Energy. I mean, that is actually an agency. So, there is such a thing as Q. And we know that all of these things that we've been watching for the last 4 years could not have taken place if the Biden presidency had been real. If it had been a real presidency. I mean, what has he done? What has the Congress done the last 4 years? Of any importance? Really?
Right.
In real life? Nothing. We've been in a pause for 4 years so that the people of the United States who were totally hypnotized, sort of a mass formation psychosis on a grand scale for decades, so that they could wake up and look around and say, what the hell is going on? Yeah. I mean, I just read that Biden wants to ban cigarettes. Now, is that real? Is that some news media outlet trying to aggrandize or more fear porn? But it just made me laugh. Wants to ban cigarettes.
Right. Just the other day says he's banning offshore drilling, something like that.
Right.
I mean, what next? Tires on cars?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, obviously we have to ban Tesla trucks.
Clearly. Yeah.
So, but it's not just us. It's not just us, the U.S., but it's people in Canada. I mean, look how far left Justin Trudeau pushed them.
Yeah.
Before, I mean, Canadians were even more sacked out than we were. It's taken 10 years for the Canadian people to actually get to the point where they're saying, hold on now, we don't like this. And then Trump comes up with, well, how about becoming our 51st state? Yeah, sign me up.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like the strings are getting cut all around the world with a number of different people. Well, again, the resignations alone from endless people, even in Europe and Germany's chancellor and a number of other things. It's all happening at the exact same time.
Right, but it took a long time for us to get here. I mean, look what's happening out in the UK. I mean, you've got Musk heaving Molotov cocktails at Keir Starmer, or whatever his name is, the Prime Minister of the UK. At what point is the real truth about the British government, people in the British government, or even in the constabulary going to come out? It took the British people a long time. I was going to say all it took was mass immigration of the third world and these crazy lunatics murdering children for them to wake up. I mean, I don't know how many articles I read about places in Ireland that would suddenly burn to the ground because their local city or town council was going to put illegal immigrants into this building. All of a sudden, the building would go up in flames.
Yeah.
Because the Irish just don't want this. So, I mean, all over the world, these elitist lizard people are being removed, tossed out on their cans. I mean, if they are the true people, if they have not already been replaced and masked up with, a silicone mask. But people countries all over the world have begun awakening to how deep and wide this hydra octopus's tentacles have gone. I mean, this system of systems is about to come crashing down.
I suppose
because it was all built on a lie.
Sure. Yeah. I guess that leads into the economic question then. What do you see happening here in the next few months or even the next 6 months to a year economically in our country anyway?
in our country. That's a good one. Well, Trump has promised tariffs, right? He has promised to remove taxes on tips, and I think I heard him say remove taxes on Social Security and taxes on overtime. Well, that takes care of probably a 50% of the people or more, 70% of the people who are either working or earning. And so, it's a very small step in my mind to go from no taxes on tips, no taxes on Social Security, no taxes on overtime to no taxes at all. And, get rid of the Federal Reserve and eliminate the IRS, both of which are contrary to our original Constitution. So if we really are a sovereign nation, if we really have broken free from the crown cabal, then that'll be the direction that we go. And we have to watch and see, does that happen? So I can see President Trump removing the Federal Reserve. I mean, we already know that he's placed it underneath the Treasury Department, which is a legal constitutional agency. And I can see us getting rid of the Federal Reserve note and procuring and using a U.S. note, a true gold and silver backed dollar, a true dollar, not the paper thing we call a dollar right now. And should that happen, then you can kiss inflation goodbye. There won't be any inflation. The times in our country's history when we had gold-backed currency, we had no inflation. None. Trump has promised to let DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, run rampant, getting rid of any agency that's not conducive to, I don't know, what can we call it, the happiness and general welfare of the people? I mean,
hopefully.
we've got how many millions of federal workers, and Trump is threatening them, you've got to come back to work. But if you followed Nancy Drew back in 2020, 2021, and 2022, you'll see that there's been nobody working in D.C. since 2021. They're all gone. They were sent home. Yeah. I don't remember exactly which TikTok. I can't remember the date, but Nancy Drew was standing outside a big building in D.C. It was a gigantic. I don't want to call it a conference, but it was a gigantic meeting of federal workers. And when they started coming out of the building, they were all laughing and joking and slapping each other on the back. And she asked someone as they were passing her, "Hey, what happened?" And they just basically laughed and said, "You'll find out. You just keep watching." But so what if the white hat military has already dismissed every federal worker, sent them home with a golden parachute, and said, "Go find a job. We're shutting this bad boy down." And so when Trump comes back into office in 13 days, he demands the federal workers come back, and 9/10 of them don't, because they've already been sent home. They've already been furloughed.
Yeah, his comments too about improving Washington, D.C. and making it a safe place for people to come back and actually visit, because it's clearly one of the most unsafe places in the United States. But yeah, I mean, those comments are interesting as well.
Yeah. And for a long time, the Federal Reserve building in Washington was all bundled up like a great big marshmallow. They claim that they were fumigating the place. Well, what were they fumigating against? Roaches?
Right.
Or lizard people?
There you go. Yeah.
So, I mean, and if people will go back and look, they'll see the entire District of Columbia was laid out in Masonic symbols. I mean, the whole damn place is a Masonic temple, as far as I'm concerned. And that's very easily researchable. wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point the District of Columbia is just let to go back to its swamp. But it's funny. They built the nation's capital in a swamp.
There you have
They
it.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
How symbolic.
It just has to I think it has to reach a point eventually where we stop seeing the Jerome Powells of the world. I mean, I think that's got to be kind of the green light go, that things are not the way that they used to be anymore. But as long as we keep seeing these people and they keep saying the same things that they're consistently saying, then that's what's going to lead people to be more pessimistic about things not changing.
Right. Well, Powell did a presser. Oh, let me see. It must have been somewhere around Thanksgiving. I don't have the exact date, but he was asked by one of the reporters, well, now that Trump has won the election, I'm paraphrasing, but now that Trump has won the election, if he asked you to resign, will you? And Powell said no. And the return question was, well, what if he fires you? And again, I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
And Jerome Powell said it's not permitted under the law. And then he said it really slowly. It is not permitted under the law. So even Jerome Powell is exposing that the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
So, it's all of these little tidbits that we've been picking up here and there like stones through the forest, breadcrumbs, if you will. They're all leading us to theory number one. That we are now truly our own sovereign nation. But you can't leave a sovereign nation to a bunch of sacked out nitwits who won't take responsibility for their own lives, let alone their own country. You have to show these people how they can become self-governing. Because our Declaration of Independence basically asked one question: can you rule yourself? Can man rule himself? And the U.S. Constitution, the original one, not the one that we have now, but the original Constitution answers that question with a resounding yes. Under these conditions. And then it structures the federal government in a skeletal form so weak that it couldn't possibly do to the people what it's been doing to us. But you cannot have a federal government this way if the people themselves don't understand how the government works, that don't understand how civics works, that don't understand how their own sovereignty gives them, by God, the power to run their own lives without interference from anyone. So a sovereign people have to have the education necessary so that they can do all this. Well, what's happened to our education system since 1925 and the Rockefellers took over? We've had a shit education system that is now so totally communistic that it doesn't even educate. I mean, look what's going on in New Jersey. New Jersey just passed Act 1669 that says teachers no longer have to have the ability to read, write, or do arithmetic to teach.
Yeah, bring in the illegals.
What imbeciles are running New Jersey? I mean, how far do you have to push the people before they finally roll out of bed, hit their head on the floor, and wake up and say, what the fuck is going on here? What are you telling me our teachers can be complete imbeciles and still teach?
Yes. That's exactly what they're saying.
So, I mean, it's all related, right? It's all intertwined, and it has taken the United States 170 years to get to the point where we're at. I mean, all you have to do is go look at an aerial view of President Kennedy's gravesite. And there's the cue. Just go take an aerial look at it. There's the Q. I think the Q operation has been in operation for decades, maybe even more than 100 years. But it probably took all that time of planning and infiltration into the elite lizard people's groups for this plan to come to fruition, where the only thing the lizard people never wanted to happen was for the general population to wake up and go, what the hell is going on? They don't want an awake population. They certainly don't want us educated, and they don't want us speaking out, and they surely don't want us being able to defend ourselves, which is why they've worked so hard for decades to take our guns away. But it all starts with education, right? If you give shit education to kids all the way through K-12, and then you reinforce it in the college arena, what do you think you're going to get?
Yep, mindless people who have no idea what world they live in.
Right, Idiocracy. Go watch that movie. That'll scare the piss out of you.
Yeah.
Because here we are. So I think what we've seen these last 4 years has been a gigantic sting operation on the people who are nasty, dirty, pedophilic, psychotic sociopaths, and at the same time awakening the population to the danger that they've been in.
Yeah.
So, what's going to go on economically in the United States? I don't know, but a lot of it is going to depend on what President Trump does coming into office. Does he remove the taxes? Does he get rid of the Fed? Does he take us back to a gold and silver standard behind our money system? If so, then the future's so bright you're going to have to wear shades. Is this H-1B issue going to be resolved? Are all the immigration problems going to be shuffled back into order? Are we going to deport all the illegal aliens? All of them? All 40 million of them? Are we going to cancel the DACA? Are we going to get rid of anchor baby status? I know a lot of people at my college that'll be deported. Anchor babies won't keep them here.
Right.
No matter how many they have. It's we have to wait and see. And damn, I am not the most patient person in the world. Waiting and seeing is not really what I want, but we are not at January 20th yet.
Yeah, this entire time, I have found this entire time from Election Day, certainly up to now, and then up to inauguration, to be one of the more turbulent times, I would say, because of all of the theories bouncing around. And of course, the pessimism, the optimism, the knowing, the unknowing, the theorizing, the non-theorizing. I mean, it's just this constant back and forth. I've called it basically like a purgatory of a timeline for people, because everybody's just kind of in limbo, wondering what's going to take place next. But whatever it is, it better be some quick, swift action, and it better be, again, something that proves that not only is the right thing happening and good things happening, but that some blackmail cords have been cut from some people. Because if the people in Washington are still owned and controlled the way that we think that they are, and of course plenty of them still are, if some of them become non-compliant, it wouldn't take much to pull their card and have them removed, and then replaced with somebody instantly, even temporarily, who would do the job and do exactly what they were told in the right direction.
Right. Pulled their card, like maybe have them fall down some marble stairs over in Italy.
Sure.
I laughed my ass off to see Nancy Pelosi sitting in Congress on the 3rd.
Yep.
With a broken hip, not a hip replacement, a broken hip. I didn't know anybody could heal that fast. That's an amazing feat for an 84-year-old woman, or however old she is. And she certainly didn't look like herself.
Oh, it was her, and in fact, I think she did have a replacement, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, even my grandmother had a hip replacement when I was living down in Florida, and she was up and moving around the day after.
No, I know, but the original news was that she broke her hip.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's different than a hip replacement.
Correct. Yeah, I knew I knew she broke it, but yeah, I think she had it replaced after having it broken. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
But even so, I mean, she's got an alcohol habit, so her falling down probably isn't a new thing.
It could be. I don't know. But, again, if the entire Congress, except for a few, have been completely replaced and have been put in submission by the white hat military, then everything that we've been watching for the last 4 to 8 years has been a gigantic Punch and Judy show.
Yeah.
In order to give us a little bit of space, in order for people to wake up and look around and get some civics lessons to figure out, okay, well, how is our government supposed to work? We had the Chevron deference revoked. We had Roe v. Wade tossed back to the state, right? We had some pretty significant SCOTUS rulings, which has nothing to do with Congress.
Right.
But I was greatly amused to find that AOC couldn't get the Department of Justice to go after the SCOTUS judges.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about that 3 branches of government that she didn't quite get.
The mere suggestion implies, of course, that she's a moron or that she was just told to do it.
Well, it could be both.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting that she is both a moron and having been told what to do.
Correct. Yeah. No, I'm rather optimistic. I truly am. I mean, there are still some things again that are out there that are concerning, to say the least. I mean, the censorship that's going on X, and it's never been a free speech platform, but
right.
There's still plenty of censorship going on there, and none of that's good. And I mean, we can judge people for what they say and what they do, and rightfully so. Again, I'm not an Elon Musk fan in the slightest, but
don't you find it interesting that he's doing these things now, almost as if there are still people on X who haven't quite awakened to the trials and tribulations of being censored?
Oh, I'm 100% certain that it's been turned, and certainly it was turned last year and leading up to the year before, I guess, away from what it used to be, which of course was a complete criminal organization that was responsible for censoring so much information that it was getting people killed.
Yeah. Well, and I think I just read, and I've sort of been giving a 72-hour rule for anything that I read in media, but I think I read this morning that even Zuckerberg has now come out saying, well, we're gonna get rid of the fact checkers and we're gonna go to something like community notes like X has. Now, the video that I saw, the guy looked similar to Zuckerberg, maybe not quite like him. I don't know. Is Zuckerberg even still with us? I found it interesting that Dana White is going on to Meta's board of directors. That's a very obvious infiltration. Send in a Trumper onto the board of Meta.
Yeah, it's almost like a gun is to somebody's head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as my crystal ball isn't really going anywhere. I mean, I went to look for news on unemployment numbers, and apparently they didn't put out an unemployment report on January 3rd, which was the first Friday of the month. There should have been. But, all they did was sort of repeat what they had put out in November. It does look like some of the, I can't even call it accurate, but some of the news out on the ISM reports, the manufacturing contracts were, the ninth month in a row, and the 25th out of 26 months is contracted again. So manufacturing contracts have gone down. That's not good. Unemployment, we're not going to get true unemployment numbers until Trump comes into office, and somebody over at the Bureau of Labor Statistics starts cracking the whip and says, okay, now we got to put out the true numbers, and it's gonna horrify people. And whether they put out the true numbers the beginning of February or the beginning of March is anybody's guess, but you can bet if there are still deep state people over in the BLS, they're going to be putting out at the worst possible numbers that they can, and then they're going to point over to Trump and go, his economy is shit.
Right.
Well, even Edward Dowd said on USA Watchdog about a couple of weeks ago, he said Trump is going to inherit a turd of an economy. Well, yeah, the economy has been destroyed. All we have to do is look around. I heard just yesterday that the price of a dozen eggs in California is $9 a dozen. $9 a dozen in California. And up in Michigan, on January 1st, a new law went into effect that chickens have to be basically cage-free, or the eggs will be pulled off the shelf.
Yeah.
And apparently, their witch of a governor, Stretchen Gretchen, has allowed the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, to sell 420 acres in Gaylord to a solar panel company to put up solar panels. Now, all you have to do is go take a look at the map of Michigan. Gaylord is north of Lansing a couple of hours, which means it really only gets sunshine about maybe 200 days out of the year. And 6 months out of the year, those solar panels are going to be covered by snow. So some lumber company somewhere got themselves a really good bargain on 420 acres of timber. Follow the money.
Yep.
I mean, so we have so many problems at the local, state, and federal level that a lot of times I'm just sort of sitting, looking from side to side, going, I don't even know where we would start. But apparently, people have been taking it on their own to do something. So, I mean, where we're gonna end up, I think, is going to depend a lot on President Trump and how his policies get implemented and how fast they get implemented.
Yeah, I would love to see.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. I would love to see local politicians, even local mayors, even in the town where I live, try to get in the way of illegals being deported.
Well, Tom Homan will send his marshals and they'll arrest them.
I sure hope so.
And they should. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I mean, I think we need to have some serious justice put over these people who have been screwing us over. And as far as the world economy goes, I think that a lot of countries are going to take a page from the United States, and they're going to start walking away. If they haven't already, they're going to start walking away from anything the World Economic Forum tried to do, especially a one world government, and they're going to walk away from anything called climate change. And to give you an example, the Net Zero Bank Alliance has now collapsed. And we got Citigroup and Bank of America and Morgan Stanley, Vanguard, JP Morgan, Asset Management, BlackRock, State Street Global Advisors, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo. They've all left that climate change alliance. They've just picked up and left.
Good.
So the banking system is walking in the direction of, oh my God, if we don't change, we're going to be eliminated. Because who's going to need banks if the Federal Reserve System collapses, the banks will have to go back to being what they were, like state banks back 180 years ago. There won't be a Federal Reserve System. So
yeah, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. I'd love to see that. And don't let us forget about what's going on with BRICS. You know, the BRICS. I just read that Indonesia joined the BRICS. They've got like the fourth largest population in the world. So while the Federal Reserve System and the Western central banking system is collapsing, on the flip side, you've got the BRICS system, which has built their own system. They've tested it. They're running it. They're going to have their own currency backed by gold or other assets. And it's a decentralized system. And don't let us forget about Bitcoin, which I think is right up somewhere around $97,000 a coin. And you've got other coins that are asset backed, like XRP and XLM, and you've got meme coins like Doge and a number of other fun coins that don't have any kind of assets backing them, but may or may not go up. I mean, so we're moving in the direction of digital coins, but we've kind of sort of almost got that. I mean, how many of us have electronic banking? We're already using a kind of digital currency.
Yeah, we just don't want. We certainly don't want it to get to a social credit score digital currency kind of point.
No, and I don't think that it will. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think it was the Central Bank of Nigeria tried to do that to the people, and it died in 3 days because the people started attacking the bank, saying, "I want my money."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what we're watching across the world is a worldwide awakening to this evil pedophile network that has infiltrated every agency, government, and institution on the planet, except for Russia and a few others. And I think when the history books are written, it's going to come out that Russia saved the world. Because it wasn't until Joe Biden kicked Russia off the SWIFT system that Russia and China, Brazil, and India and South Africa kicked their system into high gear and said, "That's all right. We don't need SWIFT. We don't need the Federal Reserve System. We don't need the Bank of International Settlement. We got this. We can do our own thing." And if people will go back and look, they will see that Russia told George Soros he was persona non grata, and they kicked out the Rothschilds banking system. They said, "Get out, don't come back." And notice how many Rothschilds have passed away. Notice that they started putting their assets up for sale.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while too.
Couple of years.
Yep.
Why? What happened? Did they suddenly run out of money?
Yeah.
All their gold taken from them? How sad. Let me get out my teeny weeny violin.
Yep. And it was allegedly taken out of the Vatican. At least that was one of the rumors as well.
Right, exactly. So, the system that the Rothschilds and their elite pedophile lizard people built and have been running for centuries is falling. It's falling right in front of our eyes. And we've been watching it. I mean, this is the greatest awakening ever. And we are never going to go back to that kind of a system again. That kind of system of debt slavery. No, this is the greatest time ever to be alive, Sean. I am so excited that I got to live long enough to watch it.
Yeah.
And in my own small way, be a part of it.
No doubt about it. No doubt. And I hope that I hope we live long enough to see the end of vaccination. That would be nice.
Oh, we will. We will. I've heard rumors that Bobby Kennedy is going to be confirmed as the Secretary of HHS, Health and Human Services. And I've noticed a few articles coming out, not in mainstream media, but in smaller local media, saying, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be putting fluoride in our water."
Yeah.
And what happens to the great big giant food conglomerates when people won't buy their products because they've got chemicals, forever chemicals in the food? You know, look what happened to Bud Light when people stopped buying Bud Light. Well, can you imagine that happening to Kellogg or Post or some of the other big food companies? Pepsi, Coca-Cola. No, the people will instigate their own health revolution as the information becomes available to them. They themselves, each and every person, will gravitate away from those foods that are harmful towards foods that are helpful. And watch for the American Medical Association to just collapse because it's not helpful.
Yeah, I'd love to see that as well. Same thing with the CDC and the rest of them, frankly. But there's no doubt that there's plenty of work to do, and those places have to be gutted.
Oh, not just gutted, but done away with.
Sure. Yeah.
And because I think there's only two countries in the world, the U.S. and New Zealand, that allow big pharma to advertise on TV. What happens when laws are passed that forbid big pharma from advertising on TV? There goes the mainstream media because they get 80% of their funding from big pharma.
Yeah, that's a huge connection, and that would be a fantastic thing. I brought that up just very briefly from an observational standpoint on the last episode. I said, I watch bowl games, and then I'll watch the commercials just once a year during those bowl games, and they're an absolute abomination. The amount of drugs that are being pushed on people, even the weight loss shots, which are obviously poisonous.
Yeah. It's so there are a lot of changes coming, and I think they're going to come quickly and swiftly. It might make a head spin for a lot of people who haven't quite awakened to the things that you and I know about, but it's coming. And truthfully, there will be some people that just sleep through all of this, and all of a sudden one day they wake up and they're not buying Cocoa Puffs, they're buying something else.
Right.
Some other product that at least won't kill them. So, I mean, it's a good thing. We're walking into a new world. I think I said this last time. It's a world that we've never seen before because everything that we've known since before we were born, since before our parents and grandparents, maybe even before our great grandparents were born, everything that we've seen has been one gigantic matrix set up to keep us in a deep sleep stupor. And all of that is crumbling because we are waking up. And that whole entire system is going to be gotten rid of. And it might take us 5 or 10 or 20 years. But this whole idea of debt-based slavery and socialism and communism, it's getting chucked wholesale into the dustbin of history. And we are never going back to that. We're not going to allow our elected servants to be anything but upstanding, moral people. We will see to that because we will have educated ourselves. And because we live in an age of information where every little piece of a person's life is available for just a little bit of digging, we're not going to have pedophiles in charge. like, in my opinion, Keir Starmer and other people. We're not going to allow it.
God willing. No kidding. Because they're everywhere.
Oh, I'll knock wood. Yeah, they are everywhere, but notice that it's more of the middle group of people. We don't see a lot of the top of the pyramid anymore. And it's mostly the middle group of people and the idiot minion who can't seem to do anything right these days to get the people back to sleep. The more they do, the more people wake up. I mean, they're really in an untenable position right now. They can't stop, because if they stop, they'll be found out. And if they press forward even faster, it wakes up more people, which means they're in deeper shit than they were.
Agreed.
We will eventually reach a tipping point where anything that's untoward and evil is exposed. Anything, any tiny little thing, right down to your town council. And I was listening to your podcast the other day about the school board meeting in December, where, one of the ladies called out the rest of the board and said, "Hey, I was told I'm not allowed to being on the school board, I'm not allowed to talk to any teacher or anyone in the schools, and that's just bullshit." Paraphrasing.
Yeah.
So it's getting around. Well, how many people on that school board are lizard people? Maybe not by DNA, but, by association.
Yeah, there's enough of them, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens when the next time around those people are voted out? And we're going to find out that our voting systems have been compromised at least for 20 years. I can see us going to voter ID, dipping our finger in ink, and paper ballots.
Yeah, that's one of the major things on the checklist. It's gotta be a thing. We have to get away from the computers.
Yes. Well, those computers were put in order for Dominion. What a great name for a computer company, Dominion.
Yeah.
For Dominion to tell us how we all voted when we didn't vote that way in the first place. So yeah, so it's cool stuff. I'm excited to see how the future rolls out. But in the meantime, because there's nothing really that I can do to impact the macro part of it, I just keep doing my little piece. And you keep doing your little piece. And, you get enough of us doing our little piece, and pretty soon that covers the whole pie. My standard modus operandi now is to give everything that I see, I just let it sit there. I don't react. I just watch it for a couple of days or a week. I mean, we still don't really have very many, how can I say it, authentic pieces of information on these two incidences on January the 1st, the one down in New Orleans and the one out in Las Vegas. We don't. How fast is it going to get buried? That's going to tell us how fast. It's going to tell us who was behind it, I think. But what did it expose in New Orleans? That idiot police chief who can't seem to keep a job anywhere.
Right.
Because she's a moron, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the guy out in Las Vegas, who picks a tank to do some kind of an explosive fireworks display?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just more questions than we have answers to right now, which is why we need to, you need to sit back and don't react, just sit back and watch. Gather up the information that you can find. I mean, how long did it take for that email that was supposedly from Matthew Livelsberger to be completely discredited? The one that was offered on Sean Ryan's show. I can't remember what date. The one with what was his name? Sam Shoe something.
Yep. I remember. It seems suspicious from the start. But it was also, as I said, I think I said it on the show earlier too. It was almost irrelevant. It was like, okay, so this guy is doing all of these things, and what's he exposing? He's exposing what people should already know, that there are war crimes in Afghanistan, and technology that our government uses, to distract people and whatever, and they have advanced technology. We already know that. It's not like it's not like it was groundbreaking or anything.
No, I mean, and then some of the astonishing things was, at least from my perspective, was that Elon Musk company unlocked the doors to the Tesla truck. Well, that's very interesting. I would take most of what comes out in any kind of news format, whether it's from digital soldiers or the mainstream news. I would just take it with a grain of salt. Just sit back and watch and see where it goes. Most of this stuff doesn't need to be reacted to. You just sort of need to look at it and absorb it and put another little data point down. Eventually, you'll get enough data that you can make an educated guess as to what's going on. But don't you find it interesting that all of those drones disappeared at Christmas?
Yep, just like that.
Just like that. It's almost like the drone operators got the holidays off.
I love all the missed theories too about January 6th. There's going to be another January 6th. The bad guys are going to, infiltrate the House of Representatives again, and there's going to be an explosion, or there's going to be this, or there's going to be that. And no, it was just a couple of phone calls from Trump to the mayor, who of course is corrupt as hell, and then a snowstorm, and then everybody goes home when it's cold outside.
Yep. Well, there was a big snowball fight on the National Mall.
That's true. It was an insurrection, Robin.
It was a snowball insurrection. Well, if that's the best they can do, bless their hearts.
Yeah. I'm pretty optimistic.
So, yeah, I am too. I see relatively little to get upset about. Like I said, a lot of what's coming economically is going to depend on how quickly President Trump's policies get passed and enacted. And I'm not sure that I see a whole lot of opposition. I really don't. If most of Congress has been put into submission, they're gonna do what they need to correct the ship's path and the list on the ship, and in pretty short order, we're going to be back on the road to recovery. So, I'm very optimistic about the future. More optimistic than, say, 4 years ago. I think we've come through the tunnel and we're stepping into the light.
Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.